Today we're diving back into trading cards. That's right, it's time to duel.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Oh, I even put some cards in here. Ooh, holographic. Why does that one have a dark color? That's not the traditional couple colors that Yu-Gi-Oh! Used. I know less about Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards than I do about Pokemon cards. I didn't really know a whole lot about Pokemon cards either. I must have made decks out of these at some point because that was something specifically. My friend got me into Yu-Gi-Oh! Let's start there. The same friend that I played video games with bought me my first Pokemon game. Flame Swordsman. There we go. Get into that. Very cool. These must have been ones that I put into a deck. That was something we got real into dueling with Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And we had to come up with some rules because there was quite a bit of cheating that would go on with bending a card so you could see what it was and tell what it was from the back. So had to get some sleeves. And that was something I remember for the first time. I went to a card shop local to where I lived and I asked them for sleeves and things and they didn't know what I was talking about. And they were a baseball trading card shop for that. They were not a Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh card shop. They did not have anything like that and they were not exactly friendly towards people who came in asking about that, even though I was just a kid. But they did have clear ones that did not fit because they were made for much other cards, larger cards, baseball cards, and things like that. Eventually, I wound up getting these orange ones online, and I still have them to this day. I still have unopened packs because I never used them all. You can still kind of see through there, but I liked orange card sleeves. It just makes sense. We played Yu-Gi-Oh! Quite a bit, far more than we ever played Pokemon, but I collected more Pokemon cards. Pokemon had more appeal. I'd had more of them, more interest in them. It was a lot easier to understand. This is where it started getting more complicated and over my head. I could not really make decks that would win. I almost always lost at Yu-Gi-Oh! Constantly. But I still liked getting them. I did play with certain friends. We had fun doing that kind of stuff. Oh, I remember the Sphinxes. Sphinx Eye? What's the plural of Sphinx? But I really didn't know that much about Yu-Gi-Oh, to be honest with you. I got into it because my friend got into it and told me about it, and I went, yeah, it's like Pokemon, but better? Cool. And then he and his brother were real into it, and they had that kind of back and forth where it's like, you activated this trap card, which does this. No, it does this. And there was a lot of arguing. Eventually, their cards got taken away from them by their parents because all it did was cause them to fight. But I enjoyed it at the time. I really liked this stuff. Going through them, I remember specifically, yeah, here we go. This was the stuff. This was it for me. The combination cards, fusion, I think. Fusion. The fusion cards. This is where it was. I, for whatever reason, just really liked the idea of being able to make something more powerful from things that were before it. That was all I wanted to do when I played Yu-Gi-Oh! It was just fuse cards to get to the cool, more powerful ones. It may have specifically been the Flame Swordsman himself. I've always had a thing for big, ridiculously oversized swords. That's my favorite way to play any video game. I can tell you right now, World of Warcraft, the best time I ever had in playing World of Warcraft is when I played on a private server so I could be the max level, and there was a skill you could take where you could single-handedly wield a two-handed sword, so you could have two of them. That was the most fun I ever had. But I also had at one point, I remember, as I mentioned, my friends got their cards taken away, and at that point, I didn't get to get any of their cards. They were trashed or something, given to someone. I don't remember exactly what it was, but what they did find later on was the dual disc, and I wish I still had that. The dual disc went on your arm and gave you a playing field so that you could play from it basically mounted to your arm here. You'd wear it around your wrist and you could play it that way. That was cool. And it had a spring to it so you could like launch it into function mode as opposed to when it was folded up and like on either side of your arm it would spring out. It was a whole thing. It was really neat. And it was what they used in the cartoon, which I also did not watch the cartoon at pretty much any point. What I did watch was the videos on YouTube made by someone called Little Karibo, who just redubbed all of them and made them far funnier than the original. I remember watching those videos and laughing so much, and that became Yu-Gi-Oh for me. I remember more of Yu-Gi-Oh because of that YouTube show than anything else. I will still quote to this day, "Screw the rules, I have green hair," and things like that, because that just really tickled me back in the day. It was hilarious, and that was where I learned a lot of stuff about Yu-Gi-Oh! Specifically how the cartoon show didn't make any sense. He poked a lot of fun about how they would do things that you cannot do in the card game according to the rules that they did in the show. I'll tell you what I don't have and what I wish I had. In here somewhere, in anywhere, I wish I had the cards that I spent the most money on. Hands down, most everything I have here either came from a friend, some trades or something like that, or I got myself out of pulling from packs. But the cards that I wanted more than anything, and what I spent big money on, after I got a job and I was able to work, my dad had to buy them for me off of eBay because I was too young to have any access to online purchasing, things like that. But I did have a bank account, I did have a savings and checking account, and I wrote him a check for it. And I paid, I believe, $60 to get the 3 God cards because they were where it was at. I mean, they were unlike anything else. But of course, all the best cards, as you know, just like in the Pokemon video, are not in the binder anymore. They are in the treasure chest, which opens backwards. Sadly, I don't have the God cards. I don't know where they went. They are long gone. I don't know if they are in a box somewhere that I left behind during one of my various moves. I could not tell you. It's a shame because I spent so much money on them and I like them so much, but... Chaos Command Magician. Now, I remember him and being like, well, he's as cool, but he's not as cool as the other magicians in the game. Yep. Flute of Summoning Dragon. That was in a deck at some point for sure. I probably had a non-holographic version of these because I really like the dragons. There we go. There's a Blue Eyes White Dragon that got folded in half. That checks out. Blue Eyes White Dragon, of course, was one of my favorites. I mean, they certainly hyped it up in the show enough. Aw, Scapegoat. Oh, those things are so cute. Another Blue Eyes White Dragon, yes, of course. This was the different art style. I didn't care for this one as much as the original. This one also seems to have been bent in half. It's got a crease running down it. It happens. Yep, here we go. Red Eyes Black Dragon. Like I said, big fan of the dragon types. This was really cool. Black Luster Soldier. Okay. Another fusion. Or, no, this was Ritual. These were blue. The fusion was purple. Yeah, I remember this. That's neat. Did I get ink on this sword? Is that how the artwork was? Ah, the final Blue Eyes White Dragon, the one that wasn't creased. Of course, I had to have 3 of these somewhere, and obviously it's gone now. I don't know where it is, because I didn't see it in anywhere of these. I did have the ultimate Blue Eyes White Dragon, I think it was called, that had multiple heads and you had to combine 3 of them. Never got to use it. Like I said, I was terrible at playing these games, but boy did I like having those. Okay, yep, Dark Magician Girl. Definitely remember this from the show and from the cards that I clearly had. I think I actually wound up trading a friend to get this one to complete the set, because I should have the Dark Magician as well. Yep, there we go. Very bent in half. I don't know how all of my cards got so bent in half. But there is the Dark Magician. This guy was a favorite. This was always so cool. Penguin Soldier. Okay, okay, there we go. Yeah, just kind of putting all my holographics in here, evidently. Anything that I found cool. Penguin Soldier's cool. Look at him. Look at the sword he's got. Obnoxious Celtic Guard. Why was he obnoxious? I don't even remember. Look, it says limited edition. Huh. So then this one must be, yep, there's my other Red Eyes Black Dragon. So I did have both versions of this. And I do think I like this one a little bit better with that stuff. This one actually managed to get creased down the middle, across here, and some in the corner. I treated my cards really well back in the day, let me tell you. There was one other thing that I remember about Yu-Gi-Oh! That I wrote down to talk about, and that was a fan-made, I'm pretty sure it was not official anyway, but it was a digital card game that you could play over the computer for Yu-Gi-Oh! You would import, you could get any card. And that's why I don't think it was official in any way, because it was free. Anybody could do it, and you just went and downloaded all the cards, made any deck you wanted, and then you could play against other people in a battle, a duel situation. You could also make custom cards. All you had to do was generate this whole custom card, give it its own artwork, you make the whole thing, and then you just send that file to your friend, and now they have a copy of that card. So if you use it, it's in there. I remember making cards with my friends. They were more serious about making ones that were fair. I made Kingdom Hearts ones that were completely overpowered, and they didn't want to play against me anymore with those, which was fair. And then I made joke cards of my friends. I put their picture on the cards and made the cards absolute trash. They were completely worthless and did nothing, and they got real mad about that. Again, fair. I still do. I wish I had those God cards. Those were cream of the crop. Those were what I wanted more than anything. They had the special coloring, the red, the yellow, the blue. Don't remember the name of the gods off the top of my head, but those were really where it was at. I did have to pay extra to get them shipped in from somebody who had them. Like I said, $60 was far more than I could spend on anything else. And my dad really questioned whether or not I should have been able to buy those, but it was my own money, so he let me foolishly spend it however I wanted. And I never used them once. They just sat on a shelf and looked really cool. I still hold out hope that maybe they're in a box that I left at my dad's house from moving in and out. Maybe I'll find them one day. That would be really neat. But Yu-Gi-Oh! Really was kind of a stepping stone to get me from Pokemon into Yu-Gi-Oh! And into something that we'll talk about in the future, which was Magic the Gathering. I have a lot of Magic the Gathering cards, and I haven't gotten to them because they are very much packed away and put away. But anyway, for all those reasons, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was something that I really liked.